Hello, my dear viewers. Today is March the 4th, the traditional review of events on the fronts of the Ukrainian war. We are starting it, as before, in the Avdiivka direction, where still very serious counter-battles are taking place. The enemy is highly upset with the successes that we have had recently in the Novodevka direction, and is worried that if serious measures aren't taken, then stabilization of the front will happen much further to the west than we would like. Precisely for this reason, today's battle have thrown elite units of the enemy. In fact, the 47th Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, using Abrams tanks, are attacking our troops in the Berdichi area. They can't knock us out of there. Abrams tanks are burning one after another. Elite part is being erased. Well, truly they are actually achieving certain results. That is, the offensive is moving forward. So far in this sector, our troops have slowed down, as well as in the area of Toynikovo, where the 3rd Brigade is operating. Separately, the assault Ngu, the same Azov fighters. These two brigades are now trying with all their might to stabilize the front in the areas of Tonenka, Orlovka, and Berdicha. Most likely they will not succeed after exhausting their forces. Most likely our offensive will be resumed here. Nevertheless, every day here are very fierce battles. I repeat, the battle was abandoned by the last reserves. We can say, yes, Abrams tanks, they held out to the last. But most likely there is simply nothing else to plug the hole with, which is why they are now being burned one after the other in the Berdichi area. But again, this is just one small section of the front. The enemy has full initiative elsewhere, a little to the south in the Krasnogohorivka sector. Yesterday there was a video of Ukrainian soldiers who say that they are completely overrun in Krasnohorivka. Russian troops are putting a lot of pressure on us. Every day some positions are occupied by us. Attacks are coming from both sides. Fierce fighting continues in the southern part of the city. Our troops having gone already quite deep on the territory of this settlement, they've seized several streets, routing the enemy. From one stronghold to the next, Ukrainian forces say the situation for them is simply catastrophic. They lack everything, no supplies, no reserves. They're basically bidding farewell to their loved ones, saying it's doubtful they will come out of here alive, and it's also becoming seriously difficult for the enemy in the Chasiv Yar area, generally across this entire front, because yesterday our troops began to actively advance, not just in the sector where it's been happening for several days. That's Bodanivka and Ivanovskaya. But yesterday, the enemy announced that our offensive operation has started further south in the Klishchivka region, in the area of Andriivka. While ongoing, as they say, the air forces and artillery are heavily engaged, so all along the Chasiv front it's already rumbling over tens of kilometers. And it's far from clear that the enemy will have enough to hold reserves for this whole front line, because the main reserves, our troops, have been gathered by their attacks in the Ivanovskaya and Bogdanovka area. And it is unknown whether the enemy will be able to hold their positions in the Pincers area. And Andriivka, the upcoming days will show us this. Meanwhile, in Ivanovsk itself, even Ukrainian public pages talk about how the enemy as a whole, that is, mostly have already taken control of the settlement, and the only thing they draw on their maps is that Ukrainian armed forces are still clinging to its westernmost tips. That is, most of Ivanovsk is under our control, a significant part of the gray zone. Only on the western extremity there is still the presence of Ukrainian troops, I repeat. This is according to Ukrainian publics. There are also very fierce battles for the hill between Ivanovskoye and Bogdanovka. This is a strategically important hill, along which the road is chosen further in the hours of automobile, along which it is possible to provide supplies and battles. The situation here is very, very serious. The enemy is saying there's a lot at stake. It's far from ensured that they'll be able to sustain this front line for long. The situation here might unfold similarly as in the Avdiivka sector, where the enemy held their fort for quite a long run. First they grew weary, and then there was a fall, exactly the kind of fall that the Ukrainian command is apprehensive about today. Ukrainian paramilitary bloggers also pointed out our victories yesterday in the area of NovoMikhailovka. The 155th Brigade's flag was posted right in the heart of the inhabited locality. Yes, it's not the entire inhabited locality, but the onward movement is quite swift. Well, that is, compared to the movement the day before. It seems very likely that the enemy forces here are also limited. The enemy has been gradually worn out. They gave up their positions 5 years ago, also assisting the fights of Novomikhailovsky. Our army continued to assault the enemy in the area of the inhabited locality. The conquest in the area of the locality of Georgievka is trying to penetrate the rear of this enemy cluster. That is, a heated fight is transpiring on a largely extended segment of the front, not only in NovoMikhailovka, the entire front, in fact, from NovoMikhailovka to the farthest northern edge of Avdiivka is resonating.